Hi everyone, I'm Shaylin here with Reedsy. Today we're talking about the difference between a plot synopsis and a plot summary and how to write both. Both a summary and a synopsis are really important pitching tools, and at different points you may need one or both, but they're not the same thing and they can't be used interchangeably. Personally, I always mix up these terms, but when you're assembling all your pitching material, you're going to want both a strong summary and a strong synopsis. So today we're going to be talking about how to write both. Let's start with the synopsis, since it's the much more involved and the much longer of the two. So a synopsis is an overview of a book's entire plot, usually 2 to 5 double-spaced pages. The length depends on the source you're writing for and what's being asked for, so always make sure to check submission guidelines, and you may need to make some adjustments or cuts if what's being asked for is longer or shorter than the base synopsis that you've prepared. 2 to 5 double-spaced pages is a good starting point. The synopsis gives an overview of your entire book, but it should also be written in a gripping way. There should be a line-level tension present that keeps an agent or editor interested, even though they're just reading the overview. So your synopsis should include a complete narrative arc, a sense of tension and urgency, and the story's resolution. You want your synopsis to illustrate that this is a strong book, so it should demonstrate the following elements: a clear inciting incident, rising action, climax, and resolution, a distinct protagonist with a clear goal, stakes, tension, and conflict, and cohesive logical plot development. A plot synopsis should always be written in third-person present tense, no matter the point of view of your book. You can mention at the very beginning what the point of view is, so by saying the book is told in first-person past tense, but the synopsis should always be third-person present. Be very mindful of the details you choose. As writers, we can often become very fixated on small details that we think are just the coolest thing ever, but ultimately don't need to go in the synopsis. They have their place in the book, but they don't need to be in the overview. And keep in mind that if you're struggling to identify these core aspects of your book, so things like the inciting incident, the conflict, the goals, or the stakes, it may mean that there's a larger issue at present with the book, and you may need to do some further editing. But at the same time, if you can write a synopsis with ease, it's probably a good sign that you have all the strong elements of a story and your plot is logical and cohesive. In fact, writing a synopsis can be a great way to diagnose potential issues with your book, so I even recommend doing it at the editing stage. When writing a synopsis, you really want to highlight your book's unique qualities. So although you definitely want to show that there's a strong plot, you also want to show what's unique and original about your book. Having a technically solid plot is the foundation, but all the elements that make your book original are what will really make the synopsis pop. And since this is a pitching material, highlighting your book's uniqueness is key. So here are a few things that you can try to highlight in your synopsis. First of all is the voice. Having a unique, strong voice is such an important aspect of a book, but it can be harder to illustrate in a synopsis since it's not written in your book's narrative voice. Strong writing in your synopsis shows that you have a clear, developed, strong style, but poor writing isn't doing you any favors. If the writing is poor in the synopsis, an agent or editor will assume that it's likely poor in the book as well. You can use the voice to convey things like the book's atmosphere, tone, and mood, and use sentence structure to build momentum that reflects the story's plot development. The voice used in your synopsis might be a much more direct, simplified version of what's present in your actual book, but it can still reflect the same qualities. The next thing you can think about highlighting are any plot twists. If there's a really great twist or particularly compelling moment, really make sure to highlight that in your synopsis. Just like in the actual book, a twist in a synopsis should be well set up by the synopsis in order to have its full impact. Another really important thing to highlight is a compelling character. It's really important to convey that you have an original character with compelling attributes. When introducing your characters, think about what makes them unique. Why is their internal conflict something we should invest in? Vagueness doesn't do you much here. So for example, let's say your character introduction went something like this. This story follows Allison, a 13-year-old girl who has to pick between following her destiny or risking it all to save her home. It's not that compelling. We're told what the stakes are, but we don't know the specifics of the situation or why this is an original character. But what if the character introduction went something like this? This story follows Allison, a 13-year-old aspiring acrobat raised in a circus. When she finds a treasure map, a treasure that could hold the key to saving the circus she loves, on the eve of the most important performance of her life, she has to choose between following her destiny or risking it all to save her home. The second uses specifics to convey why Allison is an interesting character and why her internal conflict is impactful. And finally, you can highlight any well thought out themes. You can gently express some of the themes in your book throughout a synopsis to show that there's a level of complexity that's been really carefully thought through. It probably shouldn't be the focus of your synopsis. It might be something that you just touch on lightly throughout, but it can show that you have a compelling and well thought out thematic arc. And like with any piece of writing, you want to edit the synopsis carefully. The goal of a synopsis isn't to withhold. The point is to convey what happens in your book as clearly and concisely as possible. Unlike in an actual book, here you need to tell and not show. You need to be very upfront with information because you don't have a lot of space and you're telling the story in a very zoomed out way. Scan for any sentences that are unclear or convoluted. Some writers tend to try too hard to create compelling hooks that they end up writing really murky sentences that are really hard to understand. You want your synopsis to be intriguing, but it needs to be clear and get to the point. On the other hand, what about a plot summary? The main difference between a synopsis and a summary is that a summary is a lot shorter and, unlike a synopsis, it doesn't spoil the book. A summary is more like what you would find on a book's back jacket or the description on Amazon or Goodreads. So it's there to grab your attention and convince you to read, but it doesn't spoil the book. You'll want to have a summary both for querying and marketing a book, but you only hint at the plot development. You set up what's going to happen and then leave the rest for the reader to figure out by reading. The best thing to do to figure out how to write a snappy summary that's in line with your genre is to read a bunch of back jackets of books in your genre and take note of what works and what doesn't. When in doubt, try this format. In the first paragraph, introduce the protagonist, their internal conflict, and the inciting incident. In paragraph 2, set up what the book's core plot, conflict, and development will be without spoiling anything. And in a final short third paragraph, summarize the book's overall effect or themes. A summary and a synopsis have many things in common. They're both important pitching materials, they're both written in third-person present tense, they both need to carefully pick information to convey plot or character details in a very short space, and they both have the aim of grabbing a reader's attention. But while a synopsis overviews the entire book, the summary just gives you a hint and doesn't spoil anything. Once you've written a full plot synopsis, you can use bits and pieces of it to construct your summary. A lot of the introductory information used in your plot synopsis can be repurposed for a summary, just in a more concise and punchy way. So that's the difference between a plot synopsis and a plot summary. Personally, I always mix up these terms. For some reason in my mind, I always think that the short one should be the synopsis and the complete one should be the summary because it's a summary of everything that happened. So I always mix up these terms, but they are in fact different things, and you don't want to mix them up if you're asked for a summary, you don't want to provide a synopsis, and vice versa. So thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos from us. We've got new writing, editing, and publishing tips every Tuesday and Friday. Until next time, bye!